Retro Gamers, welcome back to the BoldZone, your place for emulation reviews, tips, and deep dives. Today we're breaking down the brains of your favorite handheld devices, the GPUs and CPUs that make your games run smoothly. So if you're shopping for a budget or mid-tier device, this is the information that you need. Let's get to it. Let's start with a quick primer. Most retro handhelds are powered by ARM-based CPUs. Energy-efficient processors are originally designed for mobile devices. ARM stands for Advanced RISC Machine. The architecture uses a streamlined set of instructions to deliver high performance with low power usage. Perfect for handheld gaming. In the budget tier, devices are usually under $100 and run on older but proven ARM chips. These CPUs are great for classic systems like Game Boy, NES, SNES, Genesis, Game Boy Advance, and even PS1. Popular budget CPUs and GPUs are the Rockchip RK3326. This is a quad-core Cortex-A35, and it's paired with a Mali G31MP2 GPU. It's good for Game Boy, SNES, Genesis, PS1, and some PSP, and found in popular systems or devices like the Anbernic RG351 series and the Powkiddy RGB10. The next popular is the Allwinner H700. This CPU has Cortex A53 cores, mated with a Mali T720 GPU, and it's found in the devices like the game console R36S and the newer Batlexp G350. They handle most 16-bit and 32-bit consoles smoothly. The performance sweet spot for these is if you're focused on Game Boy to PS1 level games, then these chips are the budget kings. Step up to mid-range handhelds and you'll unlock smoother emulation for N64, Dreamcast, PSP, and even early PS2 and GameCube in some cases. Popular mid-range CPUs and GPUs are the Unisoc T618, which is an octa-core processor which contains 2 Cortex A75s and 6 Cortex A55 processors. And it's mated with a Mali G52 MP2 GPU. It's found in devices like the Anbernic RG505, and they handle Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, and PSP well. It struggles with higher-end titles, though. Next, you'll find the MediaTek Helio G95 or G95, and these are found in newer models like the PowKiddy RG30 Max. It's also found in high-end gaming cell phones and mobile devices. It's mated with a strong GPU, the Mali G76 or G57, and these are great for 2D and 3D games. And finally, in the mid-tier, you'll have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 845. This is also an octa-core Cryo 585 CPU, bundled with an Arduino 630 GPU. And it's found in devices like the Odin Base and the Odin Lite. This CPU combination is excellent for PS2, GameCube, Wii, and even some Switch. And it's highly compatible with the Android-based emulator. The performance sweet spot for this processor is for Nintendo's 64, Dreamcast, and it's a solid PSP performance. If you want smooth PS2 and GameCube, then go with the Snapdragon 845 or better. Now let's talk GPUs, or graphic processing units. These are usually bundled with their corresponding CPUs. In the budget tier, GPUs are usually entry level, but optimized for 2D and light 3D rendering. These GPUs don't offer much overhead, but they're excellent for retro classics. Popular budget GPUs are the Mali G31MP2, and that's usually bundled with the RK3326. It's a dual-core GPU built for power efficiency and handles sprite-based systems like Super Nintendo, Genesis, and GBA with ease. limited 3D performance and may lag on high-res PSP or Nintendo 64. The Mali T70 or T720, it's a slightly older but decent for 2D performance, and occasionally it struggles with PSP and PS1 transparency effects. The takeaway, budget GPUs are great for pixel perfect emulation up to PS1, but don't expect smooth 3D emulation beyond that. Lower resolution and frame rates drops can occur on PSP and the Dreamcast titles. Mid-range devices often pair CPUs with more advanced GPUs. A game changer for 3D performance and shader-heavy emulation like PSP, Dreamcast, or even the GameCube. Popular mid-range GPUs are the Mali G52MP2, usually paired with the Unisoc T618. Provides solid mid-tier GPU performance using OpenGL and supports Vulkan as well. It's excellent for heavy 3D emulation like Dreamcast and PSP, and it's compatible with advanced shaders and filters like the kind you see in RetroArch. Mali G76 and G57, which is usually bundled with the MediaTek G95 and G99, have a higher clock speed and more cores than the G52 GPUs. They deliver better thermal protection and smoother 3D graphics, and they're perfect for full-speed PSP, Nintendo 64, and some PS2 emulation. Finally, the Arduino 630, which is usually bundled with the Snapdragon 845. It's the flagship tier GPU, and it's older, it's from 2018, but it's still very capable. It offers excellent Vulkan driver support for strong Dolphin, which is a GameCube and Wii emulator, the Ether SX2, which is also a PS2 emulator. They're good for those. It handles that emulation very well. And it's one of the few GPUs in handheld that can reliably emulate a PS2 and even some Switch games. These GPUs allow full-speed emulation of 3D systems with accurate visuals and high compatibility. The Arduino 630 stands out for its ability to push PS2, GameCube, and even the Wii titles to near console quality. Now that you know the popular CPUs and GPUs available in budget and mid-tier emulation devices, let's look at what you need to know when you purchase a new device. What to look for before you buy. Here's what matters. GPUs and CPU combos, make sure that it matches your emulation goals. Thermal performance. Better chips need good cooling, so check for vents or passive heat management. RAM, at least 3 gigabytes are recommended. That's important for Android-based emulators. The OS. Linux is fast and efficient. Android gives access to more emulators. And finally, the display resolution. 640 by 480 or 720p is ideal for retro content. Anything higher can upscale beautifully. What to look for in GPU support? Check for GPU compatibility with emulators like Dolphin, PPSSPP, and Ether SX2. Vulkan support can improve performance dramatically on 3D heavy titles, especially on Arduino or Mali G57 Plus GPUs. Thermals and throttling. Powerful GPUs generate heat. Make sure your handheld has proper heat dissipation, or you may run into thermal throttling during longer playing sessions. Before we go, let's do a quick breakdown of what the best CPU-GPU combinations are for the particular emulation system goal that you're trying to achieve. First off, if you're trying to emulate NES, SNES, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, and Genesis games, the recommended CPU for those systems are the RK3326 or the Allwinner H700. PSP and PS1 emulation goals, the RK3566 and the T618 are good CPUs to emulate those systems. Nintendo 64 and Dreamcast, your T618 and your G99 are excellent processors for achieving those emulation goals. And finally, if you're trying to emulate PS2 or GameCube, I recommend the Snapdragon 845 or better. Any of those Snapdragon octa-core systems will emulate those gaming systems and provide performance that's reasonable. Now, as far as GPUs based on budget tier and also on your console goals, I recommend for 2D consoles like the SNES or Game Boy Advance, the Mali T720 would be a great GPU for that, for the emulating those devices in that budget area, as well as the Mali G31MP2. A little bit more performance there, and it adds PS1 and some light PSP. Those are both budget-ranged GPUs. Now, moving into mid-range GPUs, you have the Mali G52MP2, which is great for emulating devices that are Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, or PSP emulation. And again, that's a mid-range. And also, finally, the Mali G76 and the G57, they add some PS2 and GameCube. The Arduino 630 ventures into the high-end GPU and high-end systems with support for PS2, GameCube, Wii, and even some Switch titles. That's a wrap, retro lovers. Now you know what CPUs and GPUs power your favorite handheld devices, and you know what to look for when buying a new device. Drop your favorite CPU combo and handheld device in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so I can provide more BoldZone gaming content. Until I see you again, stay bold and keep gaming.